This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 138. Tonight,
Sure.
Yes, I am. I am 100% sure I checked this time. I promise. Tonight, I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Tam.
Hey.
Dalen.
Hey there.
And Kodra is joining us from a totally different location on a totally different machine, so things may sound a little weird.
This might be a repeat of the Bell incident.
So far, you're not a chipmunk.
I mean, we didn't find out you were a chipmunk until after the fact. Maybe we should do a sound check.
Nah.
I promise it won't be me singing Rah Rah Rasputin.
That would have been the professional thing to do.
Yeah, like I'm so out of the habit of doing sound checks now that it's just not even in my mind anymore. Like, I guess we're going to get burnt at some point. You sound okay, though, to me. So, it's my machine that's recording everything, so hopefully it's working.
Okay.
Anyway, so tonight we have a long list of things to talk about. First is, well, in no real apparent order. Last night, the Diablo Season 9 started, but more importantly, this is also the week of the Diablo 20th anniversary event. And while we talked about it last week, and none of us really enjoyed Diablo 2 anymore, I have to say the Darkening of Tristram event is actually really charming, like from my perspective.
Is it because you're playing a game that is actually good, and they have put this table dressing of a game that you fondly remember into it?
Absolutely.
Yes. Exactly that, yes.
Is absolutely that, yeah.
Yep.
And
They have faux retrofied a game that is already really balanced and decent.
you know, I mean, I've heard some folks complaining that there's not a lot to this event or whatever, but actually, you know, it's sort of a custom-built Rift with 16 or so floors that you go through, and it's in glorious pixelated retrovision, and there's lots of cosmetic goodies, and for me, like, the music and the sounds were really what made it, and that was what got me in full nostalgia mode.
And honestly, like, Diablo in itself is a grindy game. Like, collecting pets in Diablo is super grindy. You run a bunch of stuff and hope you get a menagerous goblin and get a pet. So, with that in mind, there is a lot of replayability in this event, trying to get all of the things, because you can't really do them in a single run. So, if you really want 100% the achievements, you're going to have to be in here quite a bit, especially on, like, the rare mobs that, like, you only get a couple of them to show up in a single run, and there's an achievement for, like, getting all of them.
It's really the only one that requires repeat visits.
Well, the cultist,
That one's not even
text,
inside the retro stuff.
Outside the retro area, though. So you can just do whatever you were going to do otherwise and get some cultist pages.
Yep. I've not had time to do the WoW event at all.
I have tried. I hung out for a little while in the Dalaran sewers waiting for treasure goblins, and several of them spawned, and the people who were there at the time were unable to murder the treasure goblins before they ran away, so I never actually got to go to the cow level.
So you're not... Okay, the weird thing is like, what I've heard is you're not actually supposed to murder the treasure goblin, right? Like, I thought it ran away, and then you followed it, and it opened a portal, and you could go in through the portal. Is that not the case?
Mixed things about this, and I'm not entirely sure. All I know from experience is that I've seen multiples of these things spawn, and I have not seen anyone kill one, and I have not seen a portal spawn. So that was kind of a bummer.
I'm really not happy with the way that they chose to implement it in World of Warcraft, because, like, this would have been so much better if it were just like Diablo and there was just a portal somewhere and you went in it and you could do it like once a day or something like that. I mean, they have all this tech
They also
to
spawn
do
at the end of dungeons, right?
If you say so.
Okay, theoretically they spawn at the end of dungeon.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that's actually gotten one to spawn at the end of a dungeon, but because that's been a big comment that people have been talking. It's like, well, I expected to see these at the end of dungeons. Like, why aren't they at the end of dungeons? I just feel like it was a missed opportunity because, it would have been easier to simply implement a thing that you went into. So like a scenario that you...
Like any of the other holiday bosses, right?
Exactly. And you could queue for it, and you could get the sweet, sweet loot once a day, just like Halloween or
as the case may be.
Or Brewfest, or, Valentine's Day. It just seems silly that they did, like, something that's going to cause player conflict to, have them all wait around in one area hoping for it to spawn and then trying to kill it and then getting angry at each other because they couldn't kill it. I don't know. It just feels like that's a missed opportunity in the World of Warcraft, and I think the other ones are mostly just cosmetic things.
Yeah, I think like the Hearthstone, the other games are mostly just cosmetic.
I know if you do the Hearthstone one is basically like the weekly brawl, and if you get it, you get a card back, which is actually like a really cool looking card back. So the funny thing about like Season 9 is I think we lasted the shortest amount of time that we've lasted so far in our little rushes on Friday night, but I also feel like
Season 8 was way worse. Season 8 was the worst. Season 8 was in the middle of like Legion launching, and no one showed up, and I went to bed super early.
I was gonna say there was a sort of repeating theme of Diablo Season X started, which is every time you say this is the shortest amount of time we've lasted. So I'm wondering at what point you guys log in, like, move a single step and be like, I guess I'm just not feeling it, guys.
It's not like they didn't already get to 70, get their sets, complete enough to get the pet.
Yeah.
They're just
it's a pretty great
practiced
pet.
in doing it faster.
I guess maybe that's it. Like, it just feels like my total level when we decided to log out I guess it was last night, was lower than it's been in the past. Because, like, usually I get to 60, and I think I got to 45 in the initial push.
Yeah,
but part of that's because we did the anniversary event, and I think, it wasn't nearly as efficient as our normal method. So maybe that's all it counted for. Because, like, I logged out at the same basic time that I've done in the past, so...
And I'm much more excited about this season. I mean, there's not really that much new, although that at least there's the anniversary stuff going on. But I just feel slightly more refreshed. I basically only played last season enough to get the cosmetic items and then disappeared completely, and I played a lot of WoW and other things. And it was probably good to take a break, because now I'm excited to play Diablo 3 again.
I am super excited about this season for probably a weird reason. Like, I'm back to playing a Crusader because I love the set that they give you for free this season. I love the Invoker set because it lets me build the stop hitting yourself basic build for Crusaders where, like, everybody kills themselves on my thorns.
I guess it is sort of the battle ideal. You walk into a group of enemies and they all kill themselves.
Exactly. It is my ultimate player fantasy. Is I am just this walking wall that taunts shit and it kills itself. Or now that I have the full set, my thorns damage just beats it to shit. Like, because every time I take a swing now, I also deal my thorns damage.
I think there's definitely something to be said for moving away from playing a Demon Hunter for like 3 seasons in a row. Because, yeah, I'm playing a Witch Doctor this time around, and while it's not normally my favorite class, that would always be Wizard, but I'm having so much fun running around with swarms of things that, I don't know, it just feels so much better than the stupid Demon Hunter.
The only thing that feels weird about this season is, like, there's really not anything new, like you said. And that's been true for like the last couple seasons, and I think it's because they're working on the expansion pack of sorts that's coming out. They're just not devoting any time right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of what content that they're working on right now is going to be behind a small paywall in another couple of months, and I'm okay with that. I wish that there was at least a little something new in each season. to justify the whole season thing, but you know what? I get a cute pet. I might try to get my last dash tab this time. I don't know. It's still a fun time. I
felt pressed to work for this dash tab.
It seems more doable this time than it has been the last couple times. And mostly, like, the Demon Hunter thing was fun and it was efficient, but it was the least amount of fun for me, other than, like, it was fun that first time, but when we did it the second time in a row, no, it wasn't any good.
No, I mean,
but now
it was fun because
you actually like.
Yeah,
right,
no, like, I love Crusaders.
Because it was powerful and easy, but it was not actually fun in the, I really enjoy playing this class way. And, like, playing the Witch Doctor is like, this is fun because this is silly and ridiculous, and I'm just having a good time, and maybe it's not as powerful, but whatever.
Demon Hunters were one of the strongest classes, although, eventually, once they got gear, in one of the seasons we were playing in earlier. But yeah, Demon Hunters just kind of, when most of your class design is don't ever get touched by enemies, it's not that, it's easier to push content, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I noticed is, like, Demon Hunters are super good at pulling people. Like, way better than I am as a Crusader, and way better than we found out last night, or actually today, with a Witch Doctor. Because, like, too much stuff stays alive. Like, it eventually kills itself, but, like, it stays alive just long enough to kill anybody that's not at the top of the level curve.
Oh, yeah, the Witch Doctor's terrible for that, because, like, especially the build that goes with the freebie set this season, because you're just, like, throwing poisons and diseases and things at people and then running away and assuming that they're going to die behind you somewhere, probably.
The little bit
and they will, then they're also going to kill your partner.
Right.
The little bit that you were dragging me to 70 this morning, like, I just spent the entire time running around in circles, like, hoping that I didn't, like, if anything got close to me, then I would pop my steed and hopefully could get away fast enough that it wasn't going to be a problem. And yeah, I was playing a totally different game.
Yeah, well, and it's difficult too, in a new season, those first couple of days, it gets tricky, right, when you're not exactly level with your friends, because generally whoever is in the lead is not really far enough along to do the traditional, all right, you camp out here and I'm going to clear this T6, rift, and you're going to get all this XP and get to level 70 in 15 minutes, right? Like, you can't do that yet. And yet there's enough of a difference between your levels that whoever is behind really can't do much to contribute. And so you're not
really
strong enough
not a
to
good
be
feeling.
Like, the person in the lead feels crappy because they're not strong enough to really power level, and their friends are probably going to die a lot, and the person who is behind is, probably going to die a lot and not feel like they're contributing, and it's not very fun, so...
I feel like for a game that does not actively prevent people from power leveling other people, they should maybe put in something like bolstering to make the process feel better, to where, like, these people aren't going to instantly die.
Or just use some of that new technology they just added to WoW,
where things scale everyone to an equivalent level.
Yes. I mean, because they have scaling for all of this stuff. Use it in adventure mode. They could, feel like with a little bit more work, they could make it similar to what WoW is doing in the Legion areas.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, but it's better than the current situation, which is really awful feeling.
Yeah, because you were talking about that earlier today, where, like, being pulled is horrible. Like, it feels horrible, but the game is much more enjoyable if you're playing with other people, so there's a conundrum there. Like, either you just suck it up and accept that you're going to die every few minutes, or you play it solo and it feels like less of an experience. And then the thing is like, once people get like 1 to 200 Paragon levels, it kind of all evens out again.
Yeah.
And like, what, you can't do the same damage.
Doesn't matter quite as much.
Right. Like, you can't do the same damage that your friend that's at the top of the arc is, but you're also not dying constantly, like every few minutes.
Not dying constantly, and you can do more than scratch enemies' health bars, usually.
Something level systems are outdated, something.
Basically, yes. I do not disagree.
I like level systems because I like the feeling of getting more powerful, but I don't know, like I also like when they put in things that, allow you to erase those level barriers for you and your friends.
I think the key is making you feel like you are progressing without preventing you from playing with your friends. And there's a ton of ways to do that are you have a numeric level attached to your character that increases your power, usually faster than linearly as you level.
That's why it matters less when you are just working on Paragon levels.
Yep.
Because at that point, it is linear. You aren't getting new abilities, you aren't getting new spells.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you have
stronger gear.
You're not having to constantly try and find a slow point so you can equip some new ability that you just got. But all of that said, I still greatly prefer Diablo 3 to Path of Exile.
Path of Exile is its own special thing.
Yeah.
Path of Exile does have traditional levels. They don't make you substantially stronger, as far as I'm aware, but they let you progress on the sphere grid-like passive system. And when I say sphere grid-like, I mean it makes the sphere grid look really, really easy.
Wow, I just checked out.
And every time they add new content, they keep adding more nodes to the sphere grid.
Actually, I don't think they've added more nodes to the sphere grid in quite some time.
I don't think there's
other stuff to the game.
Room, anywhere to add anything to it.
Maybe they just added stuff between, beta and production, but, that's a bigger sphere grid than I remember. So, Grace, I hear new stuff is coming to Wildstar.
Yeah, so it's sort of funny that you're talking about level systems and scaling and stuff, because Wildstar, which is a game that I dearly love and have been really bad about playing in the last couple months, is coming out with a new update in the near future that is going to be adding a at level cap alternate character progression system. Yeah, I mean I don't know. Looking at this thing, I missed the live stream, so I know that they talked about it more detailed there. And if you're interested, you could probably go check that out, because I think I'm going to do that tomorrow. But they've added this primal matrix, and as you progress through content of your choice in the game, you get these points to spend in the primal matrix, and I think it will allow you to get increase to your attributes, but also potentially unlock new skills. It looks kind of vaguely like some of the cap character progression stuff in Rift. But anyway, I think that's a really good thing for the game, because part of the reason why I checked out was because I was at the level cap. I was not really raiding very much, and there weren't a lot of pathways for character progression for me, for my main character. I mean, I could keep doing the contract system and things like that and get gradual, very tiny upgrades to my gear and things, but mostly, it's running a lot of dailies and contracts and not feeling like you're progressing the way that you do by leveling. So I don't know, I think that this is a good thing, and it looks like they're adding a new dungeon and a new expedition, which, if you know me, I absolutely love their expedition system, since they're scalable dungeons for 1 to 3 people. So those are always fun. And it also looks like they're putting in a system kind of like WoW scaling Mythic Plus system for their dungeons. So some of their dungeons and some of their expeditions will have this prime difficulty scaling, and it sounds a lot like Mythic Plus, where you set the difficulty and it sets the rewards, and it scales. So that I don't know, Wildstar's dungeons are sort of notoriously difficult to begin with, so it's kind of interesting, but I think it'll be really good for the people who enjoy that stuff, and I know I'm probably gonna enjoy the hell out of trying to scale up some of the expeditions and do those on slightly harder mode. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited. I've been trying to make myself get back into this game for a while, and I think this is a really good excuse because it sounds like there's going to be a lot of fun new stuff to poke around at.
So I think the last time we actually talked about Wildstar was when we talked about the vote that was going on in the player community and that they chose not to abolish the factions. And I think since then they've actually removed the faction barrier, haven't they?
Not entirely, but they've made some changes.
Like, I know guilds work cross-faction, because I got a message from Chestnut a while back saying that my Chua could finally be in the Exile Guild.
Yeah, so I think they definitely broke down a lot. I don't know, maybe they got rid of everything. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done more than just kind of logged in and done a couple of quests and then logged back out again. So, but this content update is the first thing to really grab my attention in a while about Wildstar. I mean, it makes me so sad, right? Like, being honest, like, Wildstar is sort of my perfect game. It's sci-fi, it's funny, it's like action-y. I love the heck out of it, but was kind of running out of things to do for a little while.
I think overall it's also stabilized a bit, at least from what it sounds like, that the community has kind of reached a flux state where, well, not flux, but equilibrium state where they're not losing or gaining that many people. So,
I mean, on the one hand, it's a shame because I wish they were gaining people, but it's good that they're not losing people. And I mean, I still know, and I'm friends with tons of folks who are just absolutely diehard Wildstar fans, and like the community in that game is pretty amazing, and the community run events and things, some of the things that have brought me back into the game when the content updates didn't necessarily do it. So there's just, yeah, I have no complaints there. Plus, I have yet to find another game that does housing half as well.
Speaking of,
I was gonna say, ESO just added housing.
I haven't quite
been
added
back in
housing.
to try it.
I feel like reading 46 pages of patch notes.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
The number of houses that they put in was just insane. Like, insane.
I have no idea how the housing system works in ESO, I'll be totally honest.
What do you mean the number of houses, Bell?
I don't know, like, the list is long. There's probably at least 30, maybe upwards to 40 houses, I think.
It's like different models of houses you can have.
Yeah.
It's different house models.
I watched a little bit on a stream because, like, somebody was showing off the Moist Mansion, which is an Argonian house.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, like, they were scrolling through the list when they were picking it, and that list was huge. Like, it's like, EverQuest 2 style list of possible houses that you could have. So I don't know for certain. Like, it may have been a smaller list than I thought it was, but I swear it's around 30 at least different houses that just went in. It seemed like every race had like a small, medium, and large house. Now, how many races are in that game?
27 right there.
Yeah, so
sounds like something like that.
Yeah,
I guess.
But yeah, it's like it's a lot of housing all in at once.
And I have no idea how customizable it is.
I don't either. Like, as far as I understand, it's on the PTS right now, and it's not patched in yet.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it had been patched in at this point.
I think it's still on PTS, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I've been poking my head into ESO lately, and they've done some tweaks where they, like, for a while, the game had felt kind of easy-ish, and they've definitely kind of cranked up the difficulty level again, which is, I think, what that community wants.
Well, I know they've made the change where the level scaling works more like an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
And basically got rid of level scaling being meaningful.
Yep, probably for the best.
I won't say I told you so, but... Oh, whoops, I just did.
I am still, like, I don't know, I'm getting close to the end of the Aldmeri Dominion storyline, and I've not touched Ebonheart again on my main character. So, like, I still feel like I have a mountain of content to get through. They have a really weird model for their content, or at least it feels weird. So they have all these DLC packs, and they each have their individual cost. But if you subscribe to the game, you have access to everything So, like, all those barriers just magically go away. So,
Not really an uncommon model.
right. So, like, it's a lot of content. Like, they've added a lot of content. Like, more than, I mean, SWTOR is the kind of game where I play in that model too, where, like, if I'm going to play the game, I guess I'm going to subscribe.
Yep.
But, like, it feels like there's more content in ESO at this point than there was in SWTOR at an equivalent point.
I mean,
there was a mountain of unreleased content, I'm guessing.
there was a lot. I mean, it also helps that they didn't lay off 95% of their design team, or the dev team, rather.
SWTOR kind of did.
Yeah. I mean, for a while in there, SWTOR had literally a skeleton crew, like it was 15 people or something, some crazy low number that was just like, it's not, this is a group that's going to be busy just keeping the servers from dying, much less making anything new. And that was the case for quite a while. And then they, stabilized and started bringing people back on and so on.
So I feel like I'm about to do the world's worst segue. But speaking of games that didn't survive, yeah, Landmark has officially killed itself. Well, Daybreak did.
I'll be honest, I had forgotten that it wasn't already dead. I think when EQ Next was killed, I just kind of like put Landmark in the same portion of my brain.
Well, so Landmark has had this really rabidly, fanatically devoted community, but there's nothing for them to really buy to give Daybreak any money from it. So, and their marketplace system that they put into play only really works if you have people that aren't builders playing the game. Because the idea was that, like, you build something cool and then you put it on the marketplace and other people buy it and Daybreak gets a cut. And that didn't really work because this is a game that is targeted towards people who like building things. So I never could figure out how they were going to get money out of this. Like, that was the key problem that I had. Yeah, that was the key problem I had. Like, I had no idea how they were going to make this work monetarily to where it supported itself. Like, it was a cool idea. It was a really cool toy.
Unfortunately,
I don't think it ever evolved beyond cool toy, though.
Yeah,
like, they tried to
keep the lights on.
They tried to put systems in to make it less toy-like. But, yeah, like... And I guess the thing that makes me concerned, and this is what I wanted to talk about, like, for the most part, we could have skipped this topic other than the fact that, like, Landmark's dead. But Daybreak now has stewardship, essentially, over Lotro and DDO as well.
Yep,
and
Turbine's old stuff.
That scares me because, like, I care way more about Lotro than I do about Landmark. And I doubt Lotro is making a lot of money.
At least it has things you can buy.
Yes, and reasons for you to buy those things. But yeah, when I saw that was being moved over to Daybreak's control, yeah, my immediate thought was, well, that's going to be going the way of the dodo before too long.
Daybreak right now appears to be where games go to die.
Well, I mean, to some extent, that's what SOE was as well. Like, it was the retirement home for MMOs. They took on all these games that weren't doing great and kept them on life support, and that's ultimately what led to, their demise and sell off to Daybreak. But what I don't understand is, like, I don't understand what Daybreak's end game was here. Like, I don't know what they were intending this to end up as. Because MMOs, like, they're not really the cash cows that they once were reported to be. Like, they do okay. Like, they do, once you reach a point, like, they do pretty okay. But they're never going to be, like, there's not going to be another WoW. And we've talked about that before. Like, there's just not going to be another WoW.
The overwhelming cost of an MMO is in the development of that MMO's code base and design work. Once you have all of that done and you're just deploying it to servers and providing network and power to those servers, it's pretty easy to remain profitable.
Yeah, because you're not doing very much.
Well, as evidenced by the fact that, like, Dark Age Camelot is still around and they have, a couple hundred players.
Yeah. But,
I mean, it's in the thousands, but still, it feels like a couple hundred players.
Well, but, I mean, Dark Age of Camelot comes from a time when, 10,000 players was phenomenal success. I mean, like, I remember hearing stories and reading stories about the early days of Dayak, and they were like, they printed 10,000 copies of the game and shipped 6,000 of them for sale the first day because they figured, you know, it'll take a couple of weeks to sell through all of these, and then they can put the next 4,000 out and then see where they are from there. And 3 hours into sales, they're like, oh god, we're sending out all the rest of them. This game is a smash hit. This is amazing. We got 10,000 players. And like,
well, and back then, both EverQuest and Dark Age of Camelot printed how many people were actively on a server in the menu list, and they got rid of that because the numbers seemed small as compared to later games that were coming out.
Well, I mean, World of Warcraft redefined what success meant in an MMO, and as a result, no MMO is successful anymore.
But as a business venture, having an MMO up and running, and if that MMO is being monetized at all, like, I mean, you could probably run them off of AWS's.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that building an MMO sucks. Maintaining an MMO is nice, reliable income.
But I think there's probably the problem with Landmark is it was still an MMO being built and with no real path to monetization.
So the hopeful ray of light for Lotro and DDO are, because they're so inexpensive and do make some money, they're not just like on the inevitable chopping block. Like, they weren't given to, or they weren't sold or whatever to Daybreak so that Turban could avoid the PR hit.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the basic thought is they wanted to get them off the books, probably.
Yeah.
Most of the question is, is there going to ever be any development of new content for either of these games again? Or are they both in just permanent maintenance mode from now on?
Yeah, and that's the big question. I guess it depends on how profitable they are. But I also don't know what Daybreak is doing. Like, are they working on anything else?
H1Z1 is like the only other big property that they have, I think.
I have a very cynical prediction of the future then.
I mean, H1Z1 like is apparently doing well on Steam, so at least it did this year. But they also cut it in half, and so they could like charge half for each part. So I don't know. I guess that'll tell you it's not doing the best in the world.
It's not unique to them. I mean, after all, they're doing the FF7.
I feel like episodic content is a slightly different thing.
Yeah, like episodic is different than saying this is the competitive part and this is the sandbox part, and we're going to make 2 games out of it.
Oh, it's exactly what Warhammer Online did. Here's the game, here's the PvP in separate little packages that you can buy.
But that didn't work out at all for Warhammer Online.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it.
That's probably enough depressing talk for a little while. But yeah, like, it sucks because like I still have a lot of friends that were super into the game, and they periodically lit up my timeline with interesting things they built, and they'll have to find something else to build interesting things in.
You should tell them the Dragon Quest Builders exists.
Dragon Quest Builders does exist. So does Minecraft. So does Creativerse. So does... I wouldn't probably suggest Trove for building things because you kind of build Technicolor squares. There's not a lot of nuance in building in that game.
That's what I'm saying. At least Dragon Quest Builders is a little higher fidelity than Minecraft.
Yeah, it is. And there's more of a game, and you can have NPCs and build villages, and that's one of those games that I want to check out myself.
It sounds like there's more of a game than EverQuest Landmark as well.
It's true. Because that's honestly like the thing that always kind of bugged me about Minecraft is like I kingdom build when I play Minecraft, and I wish I could build NPCs and populate them with stuff and make them do things, but it never gets down to that granular level. But anyway, Kodra.
Yes?
You have been playing Inside.
I have been playing Inside.
Tell us about Inside.
So Inside is a game by the folks that made Limbo, which was a dark story about a boy going through a hostile environment. And this game shows up and is pretty much the same thing. You are a boy, you are walking left and right, you are solving like simple environmental jumping puzzles and whatnot, and you are being hunted as you're going through this environment. And I don't know, so Belle, you build this one as 12 sads out of 10 to me.
Yeah, that's what it looks like when you look at the trailer and such.
It's not really a sad game to me.
Okay.
This is sort of one of those like more of a horrifying game, but like it's one of those games where you are sort of starting to encounter weird supernatural things and have weird supernatural powers. And the way I like to think of it is it's a game where you start off thinking you're a simple boy and everyone's hunting you down like you're a monster, and then you slowly find out that you are.
That definitely sounds interesting, though.
It's an interesting game, for sure. I don't know, it has this like weird pace to it. It's one of those games where it's clearly trying to tell a story. It reminds me of The Witness, where The Witness is a game that is trying to tell you a story without any sort of dialogue through like the environment and whatnot. This game has more physical actors than The Witness, but I feel kind of tells a more muddled story.
Oh yeah, this was the one by the Limbo guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I remembered looking at it, and I never picked it up and played it.
I think it was originally shown at one of the PS4 shows, or like maybe at E3, I think.
It's making some Game of the Year lists for last year.
Oh, it's making a lot of Game of the Year lists.
I'm guessing it's not making yours.
It's not making mine.
Okay.
It's
There's some somewhat stiff competition.
Oh my goodness. 2016 was a garbage year in many respects, but not in video games. Whew. There were some good games that came out this year.
It's true.
No, Inside is a good game. I did not get what I think a lot of other people are getting out of Inside. It feels like a very artistic game, though, including that whole art is subjective part. I'd recommend checking it out if what I described sounds interesting, or if you liked Limbo. It's very thematically consistent with Limbo. Limbo also I liked a lot, but was not my favorite style of indie game of its day either.
Well, true. I did love Limbo, so like I agree that it also wasn't my favorite, but I did really enjoy it. So I'll have to take a look.
So Ash, you have been playing Owlboy, which is a decade in the making or so, right?
Owlboy has been in the making since 2007, so almost as long as The Last Guardian. Actually, I think that's actually officially longer than The Last Guardian. It came out just before it, though. Owlboy is a indie game. It's a platformer, sort of. And what I think it actually is it's the game I wanted Aquaria to be.
Oh,
but
cool.
Also, in addition, it has an actual story. It styles itself as sort of a Metroidvania, but it's quite linear, so it mostly isn't. It has the same sort of thing. You get new abilities, you use them to get to new places, so on and so forth. The game is not structured so that you need to remember where things are for the purposes of actually getting through the game, although some backtracking will lead to rewards and some secrets and things like that.
I just want to say that I know some people are like, oh, a linear Metroidvania, that doesn't sound that great. And I immediately thought of Aquaria.
Like I said, this is a game I wanted Aquaria to be, because the main character has full two-dimensional movement. I mean, he can fly. No real restrictions on that, not even like Kirby. So you can just, like, height is never an obstacle after, like, the very start of the game. But even so, you can still figure out where to go because you have seen the thing you can't get to yet. It's divided into levels, sort of like Ori is, in that you do things in this area, then you do things in another area. They're not that interconnected. It's really charming and really pretty. It's a pixel art game that does something I actually hadn't seen before in a game of that style. Every so often it zooms out, so your pixels are like 1-to-1, so you can see all of the art that they did. It's really a nice effect. It is definitely in the top 10 for last year. One of the better games I played last year. If you like Metroidvania-ish platformer style games, I recommend giving it a shot.
I've come to the realization that, like, I maybe need to stop saying I like Metroidvanias.
You like Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, like, I really like Metroid, Super Metroid, Metroid on the Game Boy, basically all of the Metroids other than the Prime games, and I like Symphony of the Night. And if a game is like those, then I will probably love it. But if it is a Metroidvania, there's a whole big wide margin there that may not like.
Yeah, that
That's the
term
thing,
gets
like,
used for a lot of stuff.
It's used for a lot of things. Any game where progression matches The Legend of Zelda that happens to be a platformer. You get new ability, which gets you to a new place, which lets you beat up a boss, which gets you another ability, and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of different parts to this formula, and like even between Metroid and Castlevania, they're not all the same.
Of note, I also loved Castlevania 2, the game no one else seems to like, because it was kind of just a crappier version of Symphony of the Night.
Well, and it had a
A
terrible
lower
translation.
fidelity.
It was ahead of its time. Cough, cough.
Hey, Castlevania 2 didn't have Medusas knocking you off of platforms, so there was that.
Yes. But it
So
pretty
those
much
came
like...
in later.
No,
they're
earlier.
in the first game.
They were in the
Okay.
first one.
Say, I thought those had always been in the series.
No, they were in the first game, but they weren't in the second. Because honestly, like, it didn't have any of those nuisance mob types that, like, it maybe had crows, but they weren't near as heinous as the ones in 1 and 3.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time since I played it, but it wasn't really a platformer.
No, it was more like...
That was
It was more akin to Adventure of Link,
Yeah.
which is another game I liked that most people didn't like.
Kodra likes it.
I sure did like Adventures of Link. I think that Death Mountain is terrible, though.
Death Mountain is horrible, but like up to the point where you get to Death Mountain, it's a pretty good game.
Oh, it's a great game. But, like, once you beat the 5th dungeon and it's like, hey, okay, the last save point before the last dungeon is right before Death Mountain, so you have to beat Death Mountain and then beat the last dungeon all without, all on your measly 3 lives. I'm like, nope, checked out. Great game so far, but the end is just a difficulty spike I cannot swallow.
Okay, so
FF3 does that.
So weird aside here. I think Kodra, were you talking to Aerolade about platformers?
I
Or
was
was it
talking
someone
to
else?
Aerolade about
Aquaria.
Aquaria.
Okay, that was an earlier conversation. There was a later conversation about the Ducktales reboot, and I don't know if you were part of that or not. But basically, like, we came up with a point of why the reboot works so well is, for the most part, it's the same game, it's just prettier, but instead of giving you 3 lives, you can pretty much die however often you want. You can just keep trying, and that makes that game so much better. Like, I don't care how frustrating it is that, like, I died to this stupid thing that came from out of nowhere, because I can pick it right back up and try again, and keep trying until I figure it out and get through the level.
Basically, there came a point where game designers realized, oh, we're not making arcade games. We don't have to eat as many of someone's quarters as possible.
Because there aren't quarters anymore.
Mario games still have lives, and it's largely cosmetic.
Yeah, it's mostly, okay, how do I go about getting 99 of these? Okay, now I can actually play the game.
Well, most of them just kind of toss them at you now.
Well, I've been playing Mario U, and I die all the friggin' time, and I've never actually run out of lives. It seems like I'm always getting more lives.
Yeah, they hand those things out like candy.
Which makes me think, like, why do you even have them?
Because the green mushroom as the 1-up is an iconic thing, and so it has to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Mario game, so you need them.
That little 1-up sound is really satisfying.
Do they even have the purple mushroom in them anymore?
That was only in the lost levels, basically.
Yeah, it was only in one
poison
side
mushroom?
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
and people hated them.
Yeah.
Mario 2 was not released as Mario 2 in the US because people thought it would be too similar to Mario 1. So we got a completely different game for Mario 2.
But the purple mushroom is my favorite looking mushroom. It could just be because I like purple.
Wow, Bell, you are a gaming hipster.
I love the purple mushroom. Like, I love the green mushroom too, but like, because I like green. But I love the purple mushroom. It's just cool looking.
Let the record show that Bell has been singing effusive praise of the Adventures of Link and Mario 2.
And not Mario 2, the one that was released in America.
Correct.
I like that
Mario
one too. Like I like the American Doki Doki Panic
Yeah.
port. Yeah, like no, it's great. Like I love that game too.
I'm
was
not
weird.
I'm
It's
not
very
saying
weird.
you have bad taste, Belle. I'm just saying you're a gaming hipster.
Everyone else thinks I'm a hipster, so yeah.
You start wearing flannel.
Dude, I am a child of the grunge era. Flannel is totally native to me already.
Well, you're already there.
I'm already there. Okay, so Tam, I know you wanted to talk about this last week, but well, actually not last week, week before last, but we ran out of time. Learn us some shadow tactics.
Oh man. Okay, so I can't talk about this game without talking about Satellite Rain. Satellite Rain was a game that I looked at a while back, and it looked really cool because it's like a tactical stealth spy game set in the future, which is conceptually a lot like Infinity. And
I will say I looked at Satellite Rain despite the fact it was an RTS because it just looked cool.
Yeah, and it looked really cool. It's got like had a really cool art style, had a bunch of cool stuff going with it. I played it for about an hour, and it convinced me that real-time isometric stealth games were a bad idea. I saw what it was doing and what it was trying to do, and it didn't work. Shadow Tactics convinced me that I was wrong, and that they are amazing. They can be amazing. And so Shadow Tactics is a game where you play as a handful of ninjas, anywhere from 1 to 5, depends on the level, and you move through levels with various goals, which range from, find this guy and kill them because you're a ninja, to steal this thing, or listen in on this conversation, or spy stuff. And what's really, really, and it's all real time. There's no pausing. There's none of that. You have to figure out what you're going to do and then do it in real time. And that was the part about Shadow Tactics that for me didn't, or not Shadow Tactics, there was a part about Satellite Rain that didn't work, because you could queue up an action in Satellite Tactics, so you could they made it really easy to coordinate your units, all of your people, because you could say, okay, when I say go, execute this action, and then you could hit the button and they'd all do it at the same time. But there was no way to ever safely set those things up, and for a lot of these kind of stealth things with multiple guards where you're coordinating multiple people, you've sometimes got to do that 3 or 4 times to get through a section. And in Satellite Rain, you just couldn't, because you could do the first one, but then you couldn't set up the second one in time, and your window is lost, and people see you, and it all goes to hell. So Shadow Tactics gets around this by giving you plenty of spaces. It gives you 2 things. It gives you perfect information. It's the first stealth game I've played in a really long time that gives you perfect information, by which I mean, when you load into a map, you can see where everything is on the map live in real time. It's not just the vision cones or the vision circles of your units or anything. It's at any time you can fly around the map and look at what's going on. You can follow a guard's patrol path halfway across the level if you want. You can right-click an enemy and see their vision cone, also in real time, so you can see exactly what they can see and where and how. And every level is peppered with places where you can just hide, and no one will ever see you unless you do something. And so it turns into sort of a puzzle game where it's okay, how do I unravel, each of these levels is this intricate machine with all guards and civilians and other things going on and events occurring, and it's all ticking along quite nicely, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to dismantle it. And how do I do that without the whole thing exploding? Each of the ninjas has different tools, and I found them all really charming. They have not just tools, but they have personalities, and they're chatting with one another as you go through the levels. Depending on how you do various things, they'll have different comments for one another. In one of the early levels, you're playing as the first ninja you get is your basic ninja. He's got all of the things you expect a ninja to have. He's got a throwing star. He cuts people with a sword. He can distract people. And the next ninja you get is this little girl. She's this little, like, thief girl. And her thing is she's not very big because she's, she's like, I don't know, 12. But she's built herself this little spike trap. And you can put her trap down and lure an enemy into it, and it'll take them out that way. And she can, like, stab people. And if you do stab somebody with her, then the first ninja will make a comment like, wow, aren't you a little young to know how to kill people so easily? Like, that's kind of concerning. But you get these really charming back and forths. The characters, it's one of the few strategy games I played lately where I've had, like, legit character development through the game. I was really interested in how the story worked out, as well as just figuring out the next complicated puzzle. But it's like, if I say it's a real-time isometric stealth game, I think, like, everyone except me in this channel instantly checks out.
So I was imagining a lot less serious presentation. Like, I was expecting something more cartoony than it was.
Oh yeah, no, it's a serious story with serious graphics. Like, it's funny, but it's not a cartoon.
So I think you're right. Stealth RTS, and I'm like, I'm pretty checked out. Puzzle game is where you, like, get me back in, because I don't like the nature of RTSs.
Yeah.
When you say stealth RTS, I check out, because that just doesn't sound interesting to me. But when you say, hey, here's a stealth puzzle game where you have perfect information and you have all of the time in the world to solve it, that's more interesting to me. And when I was watching you play it, there's a little timer that makes you count down to how long has it been since you've saved this game. And if it encourages you to please save very often. So when you screw up and you die, you have a very, very short window to recover from. In a lot of RTS games I play, when you screw up and you lose, it's like you have a long time. You might even have to go all the way back to the beginning of the mission to start over.
Yeah. I mean, I died a lot through playing this game, but I never lost more than, to give you an idea of the times involved, after 1 minute, the game pops up a thing and says, it's been 1 minute since you saved last. And it hits thresholds where it warns you a little bit more obviously, and it hits yellow at, like, 3 minutes. And if you get up to 4 minutes, then it goes red and, like, honks at you. And it's like, hey, you should think about saving. And so even in the worst cases, thanks to the reminder, if I ever let it get more than, like, 4 minutes, it's because I was, like, watching a guard patrol for a while or something. And so recovery was really short. And there's also, it doesn't have any of the base building. There's no, like, base building aspect because you're ninjas. But there's also relatively little micro. I think of the things that separate me from someone who's good at StarCraft, and it's like, I can't crank out 120 actions per minute and, micromanage individual Marines or whatever. But I don't have to when I'm playing this. It's mostly because you don't have time. If you choose a course of action that can't be resolved with about 3 button presses in a relatively short period of time, then your plan wasn't sufficient. Like, then you were trying to make one ninja do too much. Because, like, sometimes if I wanted to bring down 2 enemies at once, say, every so often what that would look like would be, I have a trap set up, I hit a button, I use an ability to lure guards over. I then use the character to run, so I've now clicked twice. I wait for the guards to round the corner, so that's a few seconds. and then as soon as the trap hits, I hit a button that tells my other 2 ninjas to jump the last 2 guards. And that's a quick removal of 3 guards before they do anything, which is ideal. And it's not that many. It's not like a bunch of button clicks. It's not button spam. It's just plan and then execute. But it also means that in a few places, because I was running low on resources or because my ninjas were in a bad position or whatever, I could, release a quick flurry of abilities and, beat an enemy or a group of enemies that I probably shouldn't have been able to solo. So there was this like fun skill aspect of it, but it didn't feel required. And yeah, like puzzle game is really how it feels to me. Although I feel like most stealth games are feel like puzzle games, but this one especially is a puzzly sort of game. It just happens to be about ninjas.
Including some ninjas who have questionable ideas about how stealth works.
Yes. So the first ninja you meet, you've got your basic ninja, and the second ninja that you get on your team that you meet is basically Bell. He's not even a ninja, he's a samurai. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna go out there and cut these people. And the ninja's like, could you please not? I'm trying to do a stealth op here.
What's the point?
And he's like, okay, well, I guess that's it. He's basically like, okay, well, I guess that's important. You're gonna have to show me how to not make a bunch of noise. And then in later levels, he's like, okay, I can kind of see this benefit of not being seen.
No.
But it's funny because it's every ninja, because you're moving through the level, and you're moving through the level. Each ninja has a suite of abilities, but they also have different movement. And movement is really important because it's like, how do you get from place to place? And your 4 ninjas or your 5 ninjas have extremely different movement types. But the other thing is you can't leave bodies around because people will notice them. And so a big part of the game isn't just, can I take this guy down, but can I remove his body or her body so that the guards won't see them? And sometimes this means like I knock a civilian unconscious and throw them in a bush so that then when they wake up, so that when the guard patrols around, they're not like, why is this unconscious person here? And then the civilian wakes up and runs off, but they didn't see me, and the guard that I needed to, pass without noticing did. But each of the ninjas they have different strengths. And so like the basic ninja just throws a guy over his shoulder and pulls him along and like carries him around. The little girl like laboriously drags people around, is much slower, so she's not as good at it. And like Bell Samurai can pick up 2 bodies at once, just carrying them like barrels under his arms, and can run around while doing it. It's really funny. He's like super strong. And I wound up having this level where the sneaky the levels are really neat because they're always providing new challenges. I was really worried that it was just going to be like, we're going to introduce all the ninjas, and then it's going to be level after level of figure out these crazy puzzles with all 5 ninjas. And it doesn't do that. For most of the levels, you only have 2 or 3. And so like the complexity in coordinating them isn't as insane as it could be. And you also grow to appreciate the abilities of your teammates, because going through a level with just the little girl and the old guy and trying to figure out what I was going to do with people I knocked out made me miss my more fighty ninjas. And then as soon as I had a mission with 2 fighting ninjas, I was like, why can't I distract people from their guard posts and get them to go looking somewhere where nobody else is watching?
You got to appreciate everyone's toolbox.
Yes. Including the old guys dancing tanuki.
Always very distracting.
It's amazing. People far and wide will come and watch the dancing forest creature. I will say though that I played it with the Japanese voiceovers because the bad accents in the English voiceovers were frustrating. But it actually sounds pretty good in Japanese. Why this is the case is beyond me, because it's a game made in Germany, but there you go. But like the Japanese voice acting sounds natural, it is emotive, and there's subtitles. But yeah, if you like stealth puzzle games, and if you like ninjas, it's hard to beat this one.
For a completely different kind of stealth puzzle game, Kodra, you've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne.
Wait.
Hold on a sec.
That was the
I
worst
don't think
segue
so.
ever.
No,
No.
like, to me, Bloodborne feels a little bit like a stealth puzzle game.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're gonna have to explain this one to me, Belle.
Because, like, a lot of Bloodborne feels like I am trying to find my way through the world without allowing myself to, get ganked by random stuff that pops out at me. So, this is as close to stealth as Bell gets, where he cautiously moves along.
Oh, I guess this is fair. Like, this is a game where everything can and will kill you.
Like, I got pretty far the other day, and then from out of nowhere, 4 people just dead.
So, I got Bloodborne for Christmas and I had played some on Tam's PS4, but didn't have my own copy. So I got my own copy, and I have been playing it, and I got hard stuck last time at what was his name? Father Gascoigne, and I was like, well, let me try a slightly different build, and so I picked up the Hunter's Axe, and boy is the Hunter's Axe good. Hunter's Axe, so if you are new to a Souls series and are playing Bloodborne, I recommend the Hunter's Axe. It allows you to ignore some of if you get good at using its fully charged heavy attack, it's basically a 720-degree spin that will do enough damage to kill almost everything. And
how long
mostly
does it take to execute this attack?
For a fully charged, maybe a second and a half. So the trick is I've been playing Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. And in Bloodborne, I'm using this giant great-handed great sword or great axe, and now I'm using a great sword, which is the coolest weapon ever. And in Dark Souls, I was using a axe and a shield. And I was noticing that in Dark Souls, enemies seem to just move and attack faster than they do in Bloodborne. So you can sort of get a feel for how often you can use that fully charged attack. And it's pretty often, actually.
So the Hunter's Axe, is that the one I'm also using, the one that you start the game with, or is it later that you get?
If you got the axe at the start of the game, it's that one, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that axe a lot. It feels more pole army than it does an axe when it's fully extended.
Yeah, and that's sort of, it's got a lot of reach to it. It's really, really cool. But the weapon I recently got that I've been using is Ludwig's Holy Blade, which is the coolest sword ever because it is a long sword that you hold in one hand and has a lot of rapid attacks. And on your back, you have this massive sheath. And when you transform it, you put the blade into the sheath and it becomes a great sword because the sheath has a blade on the edge of it. It's ridiculous and it's awesome looking. I love it so much.
The one that I'm looking forward to getting, oddly enough, is the tombstone hammer thing.
The sword in the
Kirk
stone
hammer?
that is still in the stone.
Yeah.
You
looks
can get
amazing.
that pretty early.
It looks amazing when it's in hammer form.
It looks like the sword in the stone that is still in the stone.
Yeah. No, you put it back in the stone and it now becomes a hammer.
Yup. That thing packs a wallop. But yeah, Bloodborne was also the first Souls game I played seriously. After I played that a bit, I played Dark Souls this year, and then I played Dark Souls 3 this year, and I have played a lot of From Software games this year, and coming back to Bloodborne was a vindication of, the effort I have put into getting good at Bloodborne, because I never actually beat Cleric Beast on our first time through. Tam beat that. I died at least 12 times to that creature. In this playthrough, I walked in and was like, alright, I need to walk in so that I can get the first insight so that I can start leveling myself up. I might as well try and see how far I can get on Cleric Beast. And then I one-shot him. It was a pretty satisfying feeling. I really like these games because they focus on a lot of different types of progression, and I have also been playing Dark Souls 3 because I'm pretty sure it's going to go on my Games of the Year list. And I got stuck because I played a kind of weird build my first time through, so I'm playing a more traditional build and having a blast with it.
They're definitely interesting games. Like,
they're not games that I terribly enjoy playing because I don't like retreading ground, but the design is incredible.
Like, I get frustrated quickly when playing them, but I also kind of have the desire to keep going back. So, like, I'll play them in little short spurts.
I feel really bad for you, Belle.
Why?
Because you're like, you get this game that I'm like, hey, you should check it out, and you should do this build, and you come on and you're like, so I have no idea how to kill this big guy with the axe that is at the beginning of Bloodborne, who is off in this side alleyway, who is not there for you to kill.
Yeah, so, like, I went ahead and gave up on him and moved on down through the courtyard where, like, all the freaking, the 20 or so people are in.
Uh-huh.
And went around the side, and it was in the side that somehow I ended up with, like, all these mobs on me.
On
like, it was
side to the right?
Yeah, to the right.
So, if you go up the side to the right, there's a guy who's standing by a lamppost that you can kill. And once you kill him, turn around, and there's probably going to be, like, 3 guys coming up to attack you.
That's what happened. I killed the guy at the lamppost, did not see the guys behind me, and then next thing I see is I'm dead, and it's, werewolf dude with a pitchfork over me.
Yep, so those 3 guys are going to come up, and it's going to be pretty reliable that they come up.
Cool. Yeah, because that's what happens when the one guy is, like, disabled on the ground, and there's the dude with the torch, and you go up to attack him, and, like, by the time you finish taking him down, the guy is stood up, so, like, literally if you spin around and start attacking, it's always going to hit him.
Yep.
Like I'm starting to learn the pattern, and what it honestly reminds me of is, like, and this is maybe another weird analogy since I just called it a stealth puzzle game, it reminds me of the platformers of the 80s where there is a pattern to get through the level, and you kind of have to learn the pattern.
Nope, I absolutely believe it. You'll notice how I have not been at the beginning of the Bloodborne game, and I still know the placement of every single enemy at the beginning of Bloodborne.
Well, like, because it's it. Like, I'm memorizing this map. Like, I'm memorizing where things are, what kind of attack they're going to do, what bearing they're going to attack from.
You are going to get so familiar with this game.
And that's the thing that sort of keeps me from really enjoying those, is that I can spend hours going through the same, like, section of a level forever. And, like, whoops, I messed this up just the wrong amount. Time to restart it.
So I will say
I do make progress, but it doesn't feel satisfying.
I have noticed in my own personal playthrough of these games that there seems to be an interesting curve. If you can get past the first part of a game, typically later sections, it's really easy to start over-leveling content.
Yeah, I've never hit that because it's too far in.
Yeah, but I'm now at point where I have pretty well overleveled the content in Dark Souls 3, and I'm mostly, like, most of the bosses I'm 1 or 2 shotting. I just got I had a pretty rough time with the first Lord of Cinder, but most of the guys leading up to him I was like, oh, this is it? That was pretty surprising. I guess I win. But in Dark Souls 3 I'm playing a strength build as well, but I have discovered that you don't need to use a shield in Dark Souls games. I am playing with a tree.
That thing you linked the other day.
Yeah, it's the most rudimentary. It's just like, it looks like a tree trunk that I'm wielding around. It's called a Great Club. It's pretty effective at its job. I had a pretty fraught introduction to these games. Once these games become your thing, though, they will really become your thing.
Well, I feel like I'm learning skills that are probably going to apply to all of the From games.
Yes. It's...
If you get good at an early one, you are sort of automatically better at later ones.
Yes. Or if you get good at a later one, you're automatically better at earlier ones.
So, honestly, what they remind me of, and this is another weird analogy, is they remind me of the way it used to feel to do EverQuest and Dark Age of Camelot dungeons. Because, like, succeeding in those dungeons was all about memorizing the dungeon and knowing where each pull was going to come from and how to pull it and how to split the pulls. And, I mean, like, and WoW never really felt, like, it never felt quite the same because, like, in EverQuest and Dark Age of Camelot, if you overpulled, you were dead. There really was no coming back from it. There were things you could do to mitigate the danger, but like, no, you were, if you got 2 packs at once, you were probably just dead. And this kind of feels like that, where I'm basically learning how to pull a giant dungeon, but that dungeon is the open world.
Yeah, and there are dungeons in this game as well, and I'm kind of really looking forward to checking them out. Like, most of the dungeons, I imagine, are just like, hey, more open world content. Bloodborne also has a delightful, like, the maps are delightfully interconnected. And I know it probably feels very linear because I don't think you've actually gotten past this first alleyway.
No, I haven't. But I can see already how I'm going to find more lampposts, and it's going to allow me to move around the world pretty quickly.
Or you'll find a ladder you can drop or a door you can open.
Well, I've already gone up on a ceiling to get to where I'm at, but I mean, not like I've dropped a ladder, and that's how I got to where I am right now.
Yeah, but like, you know, the door right to the left of the lamppost you're at?
Mm-hmm.
That'll open eventually once you get to the other side of it, and then you can easily traverse to that side. And that will open up a really quick path to the first boss. So it's not like you have to chew through all of the enemies to get to the first boss to fight it. I do think that your instincts are going to eventually frustrate you, because the only reasonable way I've found to quickly get out of that first alleyway is, once you get to the big group of like 20 people, is to just run past all of them. Like, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of like doing everything the right way and precise pulling to kill all of those people. And even then, it typically breaks down into a pretty frantic melee at the end. Or you can pretty easily just run past everyone and get to the next area.
So is there any kind of a mechanic for banking your blood shadows?
Spending them to level up.
Okay, so there's
You can't
no...
do until you see the first boss.
Yeah, because like I've had as much as like 1,800 and not been able to do anything with them.
Have you purchased all of your armor upgrades?
No. I don't know how to do that.
In the Hunter's Dream, there is a bird bath with creepy, like, monster babies in it.
Okay.
Go talk to the creepy monster babies. They are your vendor.
Okay, yeah, I talked to them at first and then I forgot all about them.
Yep. So every time you get a decent number of blood echoes, go to those guys and they will sell you pieces of gear, which dramatically increases your survivability. Also looks really cool. I'm pretty sure the first hat is a tricorn hat.
I will say I was fairly super unhappy with the character creator, and I screwed around with it for like probably 30 minutes and never really came up with something that I actually liked. So I went with something that just didn't make me, that did not actively make me not like it.
That's kind of how I felt about Dark Souls and Demon Souls, so has it just not gotten any better since?
I don't know.
It has not gotten better.
Like, all of the noses were really weird. Like, it felt like the faces were kind of like claymation faces. Like, early claymation faces.
So, Yeah, the character generator is pretty terrible, and they do a lot of work making it so you never have to see the results of it.
Yeah, we're just not good at this. So we're going to make like lots of armor that covers your faces. Like, well, I've got a hood, and like I'm okay with that. Like I look cool in my hood and my outfit, and I don't ever have to look at how horrible I look. Like I would be way happier running around as one of the weird werewolves.
Yeah, I just had to check it, and in fact, my current character has a collar that is taller than Auron's.
So you get eyes, maybe hair.
Yeah, you don't see hair because I also have a hat on. You only
So
see
maybe you get eyes.
You see my eyes and my glasses. That's it.
So another game I've heard you talking about recently is Superhot.
It is the most innovative shooter I've played in years.
Okay, that's the official line. Now, what do you actually think about it?
So I actually think it's very good. And what I actually wanted to talk about is that line, because I think this is very clever of them. At the end of the game, there is actually a story to this game, and they don't want you to spoil it. So they tell you exactly how they want you to mark the game to your friends, which is don't tell them anything about what you've done. Just tell them to play Superhot and tell them that it is the most innovative shooter you've played in years. And also here's a link to give them that they can go and buy a copy of it at a discount. And I think it's kind of interesting. Like, it's clearly very effective because you see that line all over the place. And it's them controlling their word of mouth campaign, which I think is interesting because I know a lot of games where people get excited about them and probably they're excited and enthusiastic and they don't know how to market the game to people. But so that we're clear what I'm talking about, Superhot is the game where you are playing in this shooter and time only moves when your character is moving. So that means you can do things like dodge bullets and get precision bullet shots and like do all of these crazy Matrix kung fu sequences where I have had a time where it's like you shoot a guy with your gun, and because like the action of waiting for your next shot to be chambered takes too long, you throw your gun at another guy in the face, and like he doubles over and drops his gun, which you grab out of the air to shoot a third guy. It is a first-person shooter.
Actually, the most innovative shooter you've played in years.
I mean, do you consider Portal a shooter? Like, it's actually a game where you are shooting bullets at people, which Portal is not. Games where you are shooting bullets at people, I feel, have not had a ton of innovation lately. So sure, it's the most innovative shooter I've played in years.
It's COD 4 was what, 10 years ago? More than that.
It's been a while.
It's 10 years.
I thought it was one of those that was having an anniversary this year.
Yep.
With, BioShock.
But like Shadow Tactics, it's a puzzle game. It's just also a shooter. And in later levels, it's a pretty hard puzzle. Like, you're gonna die, and you're gonna start coming up with all of the crazy sequences that will allow you the most actions that you can fit in so that you can make sure everyone is dead and you are not.
I really like... I have to give Superhot another shot. I didn't love it when I played it the first time, but I really like these sort of puzzle games in another form where, yes, you do things in real time, but you have plenty of time to think about what you're going to do. It'll come up when we ultimately talk about Final Fantasy 15, but there's that going on in that game too, and I think it works very well for a certain kind of game.
I think I might still be in the Jerry Holkins point with Final Fantasy 15.
Which one?
Which one?
The point where he was like, I am doing nothing but suck down potions. Please, internet, please help me learn how to Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
I say they've kind of gone Final Fantasy 15 since that one.
It's important to differentiate. Maybe it isn't. Depends. Depends on your personal preferences, I suppose.
Well, it sounds like things are starting to wind down.
Nope, because we have one more surprise game to add to the list.
We do?
Yeah.
I played a ton of a game called Glittermitten Grove, a delightful game by Adult Swim.
Oh my god.
That is absolutely nothing other than you tending to your fairy village, and it's delightful.
Before you...
Girls set off some alarm because it was a game published by Adult Swim that got no publicity whatsoever.
Make sure you have a Mass Effect 2 save. It's important.
I don't have a Mass Effect 2 save. I might have to go try and find one.
They're
Or
not
I'm sure you
on
can
the
get
internet.
one.
I wonder if I install Origin, if I cloud saved my Mass Effect 2, because I'm pretty sure I played it through Origin.
Those
I
saves are in my documents, so if you have the same computer.
I don't know if I have the same computer.
Man,
I'll
do you
check.
know how many computers I have changed since the last time I played Mass Effect 2?
I haven't changed my computer since...
Several, but I back up my documents.
Man,
There's
what a
that.
novel idea.
I mean,
You
I
care
also
about
do
your
that,
save
but-
games?
I also care about the other things in my documents,
I
Game
never
settings.
make any real documents.
Oh, you totally do. Steve saves a ton of your Steve saves all of your save games.
I don't remember who I don't
lot of
remember who I played Mass Effect 2 through last time.
I've had the same computer the last 2 times I played Mass Effect 2.
So was Mass Effect 3 only through Origin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I probably played it through Origin.
Anyways, I've played a lot of Glittermitten Grove.
AKA Frog Fractions 2. Let me just spoil it right now.
And it's a really good follow-up. It's a really fun game. It's got very, very clever puzzles. And it does the Frog Fractions thing. I think it does a better take on the thing Frog Fractions kept doing. In the original one, you were playing through a series of escalatingly ridiculous games. And in this one, you're still finding the escalatingly ridiculous games, but you're still sort of coming back to the same main game, which is also hilarious and ridiculous in their own way, but also kind of fun. I feel like I'm getting towards the end game, and I have discovered the frog, and that's the puzzle I'm stuck on. But yes, if you liked Frog Fractions 1 and have been waiting for Frog Fractions 2, you should probably check this game out, because it's
If you have
pretty
no idea
good.
what Frog Fractions is, there's a URL that will probably be stuck on this podcast at some point.
No, I feel like if you don't know what Frog Fractions is, you're probably safer. I mean, Frog Fractions was one of those, what the hell are you guys making me play? No, what? Because you had me do it for a Steam-powered Sunday.
Twinbeard.com/frog-fractions for your frog fractions.
It's
Your
free
frog
and educational.
fractions. It's
Free and definitely
it's sort
very
of those
educational.
things. Yeah.
You'll learn.
it's
You'll
one of
learn.
those
You'll
things.
learn all about boxing.
This one you learn all about corn.
What was the mode that they kept having you turn off and on?
How far did you get on that Sunday, Bell?
I made it to the, God, I don't remember. The frog campaign for president or whatever.
Okay.
Or you're making products, and I don't remember. It's been a while.
The product you're making is bug pornography.
Yes.
So
Anyway,
It's a weird game.
it's a weird game.
this game has some stuff in it. Okay, so here's a game for you. You know the clicker games? Cookie clicker?
Unfortunately,
So what if you took Cookie Clicker and your number of cookies was your height in Flappy Bird? How do you feel about a MOBA football manager game?
I try not to think about such things.
This game has some ridiculous stuff in it. It is hilarious. It's hilarious if you find gaming culture stuff hilarious.
Yes, I'm looking at something. I didn't make it to the end. I think I gave up on the business simulator and didn't actually make it to the next phase, because that phase doesn't sound familiar at all.
No, this is Frog Fractions 2.
Right, no, like, I'm answering Ash's question from earlier, sorry. As to how far I made it.
That is the business manager phase.
Okay. I guess I never bought the swimming pool.
Or you could just tend to your grove of fairies.
The part about all of this is that Glittermitten Grove is an actual game that you can actually play.
It's pretty good. It's kind of hard. I had to restart. Winter is rough, yo. I also wasn't really sure how to get to Frog Fractions 2, so I spent quite a while playing Glittermitten Grove. I almost completed my fairy castle. Let me just say, so Glittermitten Grove is actually a good game too, I think. And it's got some clever things going on, like you can only build your structures in trees, and only certain trees can bear fruit, and so you are trying to manage the growth and maintenance and stability of all of these trees, but trees create shade, and shade cuts off light, and so you need to make sure that your trees are properly pruned so that light is coming through and, like, hitting your younger trees that you need to grow. And it's actually a very intricate and difficult problem to solve.
Right now, all I'm thinking of is that Rush song.
It didn't need to be a difficult or intricate problem to solve or fun at all, but it is, and I like that.
I like that. I appreciate that attention to detail.
Like, you have to be careful not to build a house on a branch that's far off, because then it will become too heavy and the tree will fall over. And, like, there got to be a point where some of my trees were, like, dangerously starting to lilt, and, like, I was seeing how it's really, really interesting. They did a lot of simulation in this Glittermitten Grove. It's a lot better of a game than I thought it would be, for something that I thought was only going to be Frog Fractions 2.
What I think is more interesting than the fact that there actually is a Frog Fractions 2 is the long, trollish path that it's taken to get here. That started with, Desert Golf?
No.
That's unrelated.
Right, no, but, like, that was the thing that everyone thought was going to be Frog Fractions 2 for a bit, thanks to the commentary on Twitter, I think. But there's been a lot of games that people have claimed, this is probably going to be Frog Fractions 2. And now it's here.
Shower with Your Dad Simulator was pretending to be Frog Fractions 2.
I mean, the joke was, is this Frog Fractions 2? And, like, we all thought Jim Sterling was going to be the one to find it, because he plays all of the garbage games on Steam.
Except they got around that they published Glittermitten Grove in, like, mid-December.
Yep.
December, like, 16th or something like that. And then on Christmas Day, they patched in Frog Fractions 2 when they finished the ARG.
Yeah, when the team finished the escape room and found the key to unlock the button to push to launch Frog Fractions 2.
I just think all of this crap that's happened since Frog Fractions and the hunt for the next one has been more interesting probably than Frog Fractions was. Like, the things that people have done in this time period is just funny. Because it's like been a global hunt for Frog Fractions too, expecting it to be in all these weird little places. Anyway, do we have anything else before we wrap things up? Is there another secret surprise game that we want to talk about?
I mean, it would only be appropriate that Frog Fractions 2 was a surprise game for the podcast.
Yeah, because of note, Kodra did not mention this before when we were creating our show notes, so it really was a surprise. Anyway, okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we talked about a really long list of things this week. And we will be back next week, and I'm not sure if that's the Games of the Year show or not.
One more.
One more, okay. Anyway, we will see y'all later. Have a good night!
Good night.
See you.
Later.
Good night.
Good night.